This is Dedrick Dodge, two-time Super Bowl champion. You're listening to Matt and Dexter on The Grueling Truth.
Hey, welcome everybody to another edition of the 49ers Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Radio Network, brought to you by Gridiron Mo. Gridiron Mo is a new interactive football app that lets you call the plays on of the offense or defense of a live NFL game and try to compete with others around the country. Check it out at gridironmo.com or at thegruelingtruth.net. I'm your host for the 49er Weekly Show, Matt Andruscavage, and I'd like to welcome in my co-host, former 49ers running back and Super Bowl 29 champion, Dexter Carter. How are we doing tonight?
Hey, Matt, doing wonderful, man. Hey, never been a show, surely not the beginning of the season where I felt so good about being wrong. So, about my prediction last week. But you know what? Hey, great things to talk about tonight and talk about why I'm glad I was wrong and why I'm happy that the 49ers came out and performed the way that they did.
Yeah, they looked really good. I mean, this is similar to last year where we weren't really sure what we were going to see. And Monday Night Football against a great team with a great running back, and Navarro Bowman had that defense all just completely set to shut the running back down, and they didn't just shut him down. They shut the entire offense off. I mean, they didn't move the ball hardly at all. So
Absolutely.
It was really good to see.
Absolutely, and we, you know, we discussed in detail, you know, what they had to do, and you know, you believed a little more that they were going to do it than I did. But I tell you what, to come out and not only shut the running game down, you know, over the course of an entire game, but Tavion Austin didn't even get started, and what they did is they took advantage. That defense took advantage of what many thought the quarterback was capable of doing. And they made him play to his history, and they just did a great job. And again, they took a quarterback and made him look exactly like he's supposed to look. So, one, it builds some confidence for this entire team. But every facet of that team, the 49ers, played extremely well. So they've got something really nice to build upon going into week 2.
Oh, definitely. That's the thing. I mean, we're going to go through a bunch of the positives and a couple of areas of concern, but going into week 2, I mean, it's going to be a difficult match against Carolina, especially in their home opener, coming off a loss against Denver. But the thing that I really that I'm really encouraged about is I think this team's going to look respectable a lot more than they did last year. And even if that doesn't translate into a lot of victories, I think they'll get more than they got last year. But if they look respectable, that is a really good accomplishment for year 1 under Chip Kelly.
Absolutely. And for one, for the record, Carolina should have won against Denver. Denver, you take the win, I get it, but Carolina shouldn't hang their heads because Gano very seldom misses, and it wasn't the icing, you know, the timeout that got him. If anything, it got the center and or the snapper, with the high snap. But they sure aren't going to hang their heads on that one. So they're going to be ready, especially 49ers going to Carolina, which I will be at that game. But still, the 49ers had something to be tremendously excited about because, one, Gabbert didn't play great, but he didn't play bad. So we know he's going to play better. We also know that one had an unexpected receiver stand out. So we know that there's other receivers that are going to step up too. And the running games are going to continue to get better. And that offensive line, I'm telling you, by the time they get midway through the season, they're going to be gelled together, working together really, really well. And if they keep on the pace that we think that they can, they're going to be in a position, they're not going to get run over by Seattle. They're not going to get run over by Arizona. Now, they got to be at the top of their game. But if that defense can keep doing what they're doing and the other receivers step up, Gabbert continue to, get better, we know the running game, I believe, is going to be there. I think they can, compete and have the opportunity to, shock a couple of people, in that NFC West. So as far as people's predictions and outcomes for the season. So a lot of good things, lot of good things that we can take and pick out of this performance by the 49ers.
No question about it. Let's unpack a few of these. So a couple of the positives that I saw, you just touched on the offensive line. The offensive line, we had a really odd piece of news late in the week last week. Anthony Davis decides to miss practice on Saturday, and all of a sudden it says that he's pondering retiring. It was just very strange. I don't know if he must have some personal things going on again. He seems to be somewhat of a, I don't want to say troubled individual, but he seems conflicted. So they moved him at right guard, and because they felt so good about Trent Brown, so that was a really good thing. So he was at least available as a backup to the swing tackle. He could have played if needed. And the other thing that was interesting was rookie Joshua Garnett was inactive. Don't exactly know why, but here's the thing. With both, they were supposed to be the starting left guard and the starting right guard. They had so much depth at the guard. They were able to use Zane Beadles, who they got in free agency, who was a Pro Bowler 2 years ago, and Andrew Tiller, who emerged last year as a very effective guard. They came in the whole game, and Aaron Donald was shut down. He did hardly anything, and that great defensive line of L.A. just really didn't. They didn't get pressures. They didn't get sacks. Mm-mm. And as a result, the 49ers controlled the line of scrimmage. So, like you were saying, that offensive line is a real strength.
Oh, absolutely. And with the gentlemen that you mentioned, whether they were backups, Davis, getting in trouble and not starting, I tell you what, that kind of showed the depth of what the 49ers are and what they have. So
right.
I hope Davis gets it straight. I think he's got more personal issues that he may need help on, because the man doesn't just, he had to give it some long thought to come back out of retirement. And then to do this right here, I think rather than us smashing him, we need to figure out what the problems are and try to help this young man. So,
right.
But if anything, it showed that, one, this team can move forward with or without you, but they much rather move forward with him, because depth on that offensive line, it takes the offense to a whole nother level. So hopefully those things can get squared away.
Oh, definitely. I mean, if he's there, all of a sudden they've got 4 starting guards. Any one of those guys could start at pretty much either position. And Anthony Davis is pretty much an all-pro tackle. And now with Joe Staley, who's also an all-pro tackle, and the emergence of 7th-round pick from last year, Trent Brown, 6'8", 300+, a guy who many kind of criticized general manager Trent Baalke for drafting. But, I mean, what a find in the 7th round. And Anthony Davis has so much confidence, and the offensive line coach has so much confidence in him that, now all of a sudden they've got 3 capable tackles, so not just capable tackles, but really good tackles to go with those 4 guards. This offensive line, I mean, there's not a lot of really good offensive line in the league. This could emerge as one of the better ones for sure by midseason. Yeah,
no doubt about it. And, going into, coming out of training camp and into the season, you never really know, especially when you got a new line gelling together. You don't know how it's going to turn out. But sometimes you find out early on, sometimes you find out later. But what a pleasant surprise for the 49ers. I don't think they expected it to be that good. But then again, they've been seeing these guys work together, But again, nobody thought what would happen with, Davis, which could really throw a loop, into the whole, offensive game plan. But it didn't. It worked to their advantage. So,
right.
Once again, we don't want to throw them to the wolves. We want to figure out what the problem is, because, one, the offensive line can be the strength of that team and the defensive line. So we don't want to leave them out, but we know the linebackers are. But I'm a true believer that, you know, you win and you lose up front. So, if they continue to strengthen that offensive line and build that depth, oh my goodness, man, it's gonna be pretty for the 49ers moving forward. As long as they stay focused, practice, you know, kind of like how look at the Seminoles. I was at their practice yesterday, and yes, they're playing Louisville, which is a big, huge game. But you know what? They focus on the next game, not the next opponent, because when you allow your next opponent to affect your energy and effort you put forth, then, you know, you can kind of go up and down based on your preparation. So if the 49ers, you know, look at it that way and they keep building upon what we saw on Monday night, you know, it's going to be like the old days, you know, when the 49ers, you know what, hey, the way we practice and prepare has nothing to do with the team we're playing. So that way, hey, you know what, our energy and efforts are the same every single week.
Exactly. You know, and as far as the offense goes, the rest of the offense I thought was very efficient. You know, we talked about last week what we would hope to see in the running game. I believe you mentioned that if Carlos Hyde ran for 75 yards, you'd be very happy. That's about the number that I was kind of hoping for as well, get about 75 yards, good gains, and maybe a touchdown. And he ran for 88 and 2 scores. Real solid game for him. And then the passing attack, I thought was just very efficient. It wasn't anything real flashy. I think at some point they'll have to go downfield a little bit more, but it was a really nice start. It was something to build off of. They got the tight ends involved. They were able to get newcomer Jeremy Curley involved. That was really nice to see. They targeted him 11 times and he caught 7 for 61.
Absolutely. That was definitely the pleasant surprise. And as you said, the tight ends, you know, just like Brent Jones and Novacek back with the Cowboys, you know, the importance of that tight end spot. And then, you know, the emergence of the receiver, man, you know, wow, that was awesome. So, once they get everybody else involved at that receiver position, and again, third time reiterating that Gabbard, you know, I'm telling you, boy, it's gonna be pretty. It's gonna be pretty, and I think, you know, Chip, you know, it's still got a lot up his sleeve that he's done in training camp that probably didn't show, because once again, you know, the importance of the quarterback position in this offense, and we didn't see it in this game, but we saw enough not to be down on Gabbard, you know. So I still saw enough of Gabbard that it still makes you confident in him being the starter.
Absolutely. You look at him, and you know, there's so much criticism. Everyone thinks of Jacksonville, the 3 years there where some things did not work out very well for him. But if you watch him play when he's got time, he's not a bad quarterback. I mean, there was a couple areas of concern, which we'll get into in a couple minutes. But all in all, I thought he had a good game. 62.5% completion percentage, no interceptions, and he threw a touchdown, and he also had 43 yards on the ground rushing. So I think he had at least 2 first downs, which was really nice to see.
Yes, he did. He did.
Going forward, this is not a bad thing.
Yeah, he did it. I tell you what, you know, he is a very capable runner. You know, we sometimes we look back a number of years and see Cap when he was running at his best. Man, he was one of the best. But you know, but Gabbard really is a very capable, you know, productive runner. So, and I think he took advantage of everything that he could have got out of those plays in this game. So he was productive. So
yeah, and I think that's what we wanted to see. We wanted to see we wanted to see the 49ers win up front with the offensive line. That definitely happened. We wanted to see an effective ground game. That happened. And then as a result of the protection, as a result of the ground game taking pressure off the quarterback, Blaine Gabbert was able to be effective, which then in turn also helped the running game again. So it was good to see. The whole system seemed to be working pretty well against a really good defense, at least on paper. So all in all, I'd give the offense a solid B plus, and hopefully we'll see a few more wrinkles in the offense next week against Carolina.
And you really will. I mean, to come out with the win, it's hard to give the offense less than a B, whenever you see the performance that they had. And, statistically wasn't off the charts, but statistically was very successful and gave, that defense trouble, because there's players on that, from Lamarcus Joyner to 99. I mean, they can really wreak some havoc for offenses. So, seeing the 49ers can vastly improve from the performance they had, and still played pretty decent, man, is better to come, so excited about seeing the fruition of this entire team, not just the offense, but the defense going to get better, and special teams didn't have really an impact, but it's hard to have an impact, especially in the return game now, because once it goes in the end zone, it's in the end zone, but they didn't get many chances on, to have productive other areas of special teams. But you know what? Special teams did not kill them. And that's always key. I'd rather be not non-existent, but none errors, rather than, perform well and offense and defense doesn't play well. So many areas of improvement to come. And but as long as you're 1-0, hey, I'm willing to improve throughout the season as long as we keep getting those W's.
No doubt. Before I get to the defense, I'll quick make a note about the special teams. You said the special teams didn't kill us. That's for sure, because when you give up 0 points, you're not going to get a lot of chances in the kickoff return game. But
right.
On the punt return game, which was nice, they made them punt several times, and there were a number of fair catches in traffic, and Gurley handled all of them to perfection. And
Absolutely.
As a return man, you know the kind of pressure that's on you as either a kickoff return or especially in a punt return situation where you've got the defense breathing down your neck, and there's a lot of pressure to make that grab, and you know how hard that is.
Right.
He did a really good job.
Sure did.
And then the kicking game was good. The punting game was good. There weren't any shanks. I believe Dawson made all of his extra points, which is good. He didn't have to kick any field goals, which was nice. So I thought the special teams was very efficient, but the highlight of the day for me really was the defense. I thought the defense was really a dominating performance. Now I realize the Rams offense isn't crazy awesome, but they've got a really, really good running back there. And what was nice about it wasn't Navarro Bowman just doing everything, although he did have a real impact in the game. That defensive line was just blowing everything up to begin with, and it was just easy cleanup for the linebackers.
Absolutely. Of course, those young guys, Armstead and Buckner, just to name a couple, they're going to wreak some havoc this year. The better they get, the more confident they get working together, and just the fact of the confidence in themselves, man, and learn this game, boy, they're going to be off the charts. So great job by, you got to give credit to the decision makers, the evaluators on, bringing those guys in, and continuing to develop them.
Definitely. Eric Armstead last year, there was a lot of criticism. Why was he drafted? Is he even worth a first-round pick? He was drafted specifically to be one of the cornerstones of the line, and then this year they followed up with getting his teammate. I mean, these two guys are huge. I don't think the Twin Towers label is not appropriate. I mean, they are truly twin towers, 6'7", 290 to 300 pounds each. They're major, huge. They're just massive, and they really seem to excel at getting leverage and being able to push the linemen backwards, and they just disrupt everything. So I think we're going to see more of that. And then Quentin Dial as well. He can play nose tackle. He can play end. Glenn Dorsey will be back. So that's more depth. And they just look strong on the defensive front, and then the linebackers getting pass rush from Ahmad Brooks, who got a sack, getting pass rush from Tank Carradine, who seems to finally be in a position where it fits him, standing up and just rushing from the outside. And then they're going to get Aaron Lynch back, their star pass rusher, after week 4.
Right.
So it's only going to get better. So this front seven looks really, really stout right now, and I think it's also because of that, it's going to help that young secondary.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Just continuing to develop, and they're going to feed off each other. I tell you, the fans, the Empire is the only ones, buzzing with excitement. These players, trust me, they're feeding off of this. And there's nothing like, coming off of a not so great year and then changing coaches, because you see the difference now. Coach last year, new coach, then, Chip Kelly coming in. These guys are looking for a breath of fresh air, a breath of hope. And with the talent that they're putting together, all you got to do is, have some success. And, and then, you see the Ray Armstrongs, playing the way that they play. And they feed off of each other. And at that point, anything is possible. And then they take it personal and say, okay, so Arizona and Seattle, you guys think they run the West. Okay, well, we're going to throw a little kink into that, and make it very interesting. So it will be interesting to see, how they continue to develop. And we'll see when they play Arizona and Seattle. Got 2 opportunities, and I just can't see, those 2 teams, as good as they are, just walking over the Niners. I think the Niners are going to be able to challenge.
That's just it. And I think that is a realistic expectation for this year. Has it been frustrating these last few years? Of course. We were watching a team where you kind of getting used to the idea of going to the NFC Championship game every year and having just a Pro Bowl flush roster with Coach Harbaugh and everything, and just sometimes these things don't work out. And then they had the retirements, and now looking at what Balky has been able to put together over the last 2 seasons, amidst all of the criticism and all of the storms and all of the everything, all the distractions and everything that's gone on, this is actually a pretty good roster. And I think more people are going to be seeing that as the time goes. So hopefully we're going to see a lot of competitive games for this year. I think that's a realistic expectation. Kind of like Oakland last year, they finished 7-9, but they were in almost every game they were in, and now they've built their roster to the point now where most people can see Oakland competing for the playoffs. That's my hope for the Niners next year.
Absolutely. And, it's something that can't get lost. I know it's just the first game, but, what can't get lost is, because we talked a great deal about Balky and we talked a great deal about York, but, they're behind the decision-making pertaining to, bringing people in. So, you got to give them a little credit. That they've got the right people in place. They just got to continue to build on it and let them do their job and give these players, as Eddie D used to say, give them what they need to succeed. And, if they have it, then there's no excuse to fail. So it looks like that's what they're doing.
Right. The old the strategy of Eddie D and Karen policy, right?
That's right. That's right.
What you guys need, and we'll get it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was really good to see, like you brought up Ray Armstrong. I wasn't sure who was going to start. I really thought it was going to be Gerald Hodges. I think he'll get plenty of snaps, but it was really cool to see Ray Armstrong take that starting job and not only start, but have a really good game and come up with an interception.
Sure did. Great eyes. Tip drill is always practice, and he did it to the T, So very, very big play for the 49ers at that point and junction in the game.
And as far as the secondary, they put in a lot of nice blitz packages. And what was really nice to see was Eric Reed coming in on the blitz and getting serious pressure on the quarterback. Also Jimmy Ward Tremaine Brock and Jimmy Ward were the highest-rated 49er defenders in that game by Pro Football Focus, which was really nice since they're both listed as the starters. So to have both those guys be listed higher statistically than even Navarro Bowman was really nice to see. This secondary is a lot better than people think, and it's really deep. They're really deep at safety, and they're like 5 deep at corner easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about that corner group last year. They didn't quite develop as fast as we would have hoped, but
right.
Going through a whole season and another off season, you obviously see the difference. You can have more confident young men, more experienced young men, that continue to watch film, learn from their mistakes, learn from their successes, and also as a group, learn how to play as a unit. And you never know what these young men are doing, who they're training with during the off season, whether they're, if they're smart, they're confiding in, whether they're former 49ers, retired 49ers, or former other friends and players around the league, train together during the off season. It's all about competition. The stronger competition you go up against, the better you get. You learn the little nuances of your position and how to play it better, and you really see, regardless of what they did, you see the difference.
No question. I mean, this team looks to be a little bit more mature than last year. You talked about development, and I think we're just seeing a few positions where maybe last year they're a little bit more raw. This year they look a little bit more mature. I mean, we'll know a little bit more as the season goes on. Obviously this is only the first game. Nobody's going nuts here and putting in saying, hey, we're playoff bound and everything like that. But we have to look at this game as a major positive, because most pundits, and including many fans, really felt this team was a 4-12 team. Mm-hmm. So for a 4-12 team to play this well, this is good. This is a real step in the right direction, and I don't think this is a 4-12 team at all. I mean, this is going to be a very competitive team, and they're going to face a big test this Sunday against Carolina. So what do you see coming up in this game against the Panthers?
Yeah, it's still early. It's still early, and we are optimistic, but from analytical perspective, analysis perspective, when you examine the X's and O's and look at Carolina, didn't lose very much from last year. If anything, now they got Benjamin, and which makes them very, very tough. I mean, their receiving core is, just if you're going to go position by position, the receiving core is better than the 49ers at this juncture. Okay, quarterback position, you got to say goes to Carolina. The running back position, I mean, are you going to say Stewart at this point in his career isn't better than Hyde? The offensive line is, they're Super Bowl, they didn't lose anybody. So offensively, man, we're going to see a great competition, with this 49er defense that, is still relatively young, but has some great experience, and we saw at what they did this week that, they're ready for that next level. So it'll be a great offensive show, Carolina against the defensive show for the 49ers, to see who's going to win that battle. Carolina's defense, again, haven't lost many people. I think maybe they lost a line, one player, I believe. But other than that, Gabbert's got to play better. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He cannot have the performance he had this week, and more receivers got to step up. That has got to happen without a doubt for the 49ers to hang in here and have an opportunity to beat the Panthers in Carolina.
I agree with that. The one concerning part for me from this past game that I just don't want to see carry over into the Carolina game was, if you watch the third quarter, the play calling and the offense just went. I don't know what they were doing. It's like they were just trying to run the clock out. They got so conservative to the point where they had minus 12 yards
Yeah.
And they relied on 2 plays at the end of the quarter to finish in the positive. It was like, it's only 14-0 here, guys. If you don't keep your foot on the gas, it takes 1 play, and all of a sudden the Rams 14-7 are right back in the game with a whole other quarter. So I hope that part of it was they didn't want to show a lot because Carolina would be studying them. I hope that they were just kind of getting plain because maybe they felt they had the game won, but that's not really good either in the third quarter. So I don't know exactly what happened there, but I just hope that the passing game gets a little bit more aggressive. You've got a great deep threat in Torrey Smith. I think they've got to push that ball downfield. And if they can do that, they can open up that passing game to be more of a strength and keep this game close. Cam Newton is really, really good when they get up ahead. But in the games that the Panthers have lost, it's because they've played a defense that has kept the game close, and that's where he's struggled. So I'm hoping that the Niners can have a good passing attack and that defense can limit what Carolina tries to do offensively.
Yeah, and something else that might come into play that I noticed in the Carolina game, and I think the NFL needs to take a very, very good look at it. If they're going to protect quarterbacks, regardless if a quarterback runs a lot or not, I'm not even talking about him running out of the pocket, but there was a number of times in the pocket that I saw, without a question, a head-to-head contact with Cam Newton.
No doubt.
That they're not protecting him. Yes, and that's a concern. And I assure you, just like teams have done for years, they create a playlist that they send to the league that are questionable. And I tell you what, those definitely, I guarantee you, were sent to the league because this young man shouldn't have to worry about, just because he's big and strong, and he's dapper and flashy, that you can't protect him like you do all these other quarterbacks. He's got to be protected, man. So as I watched it, I honestly felt bad because he never complained. And it should have been, it shouldn't even been questioned or criticized if he had complained about it.
He had every right to complain. You watched that game, and there were 4. One of them I thought was possibly accidental because they just kind of collided. But the other 3, I thought the Broncos launched themselves into a helmet-to-helmet contact, and it blew me away because I guarantee you if that was Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, that flag is coming out so fast, or even Drew Brees. I remember when Ahmad Brooks, his hand touched the shoulder near the neck area of Drew Brees in a key game in 2013, and they called that as a late hit, and it ended up really costing the Niners home field advantage ultimately. And it was such a ticky-tack call. And then here you got the NFL coming out with all this concussion stuff, and they're not going to call. You have an independent neurologist who can stop the game at any time if he suspects that there's a concussion involved. You're telling me you didn't see the helmet-to-helmet contact, and it's because that he's considered a running quarterback and because he's really big and strong, like you said. It's wrong, but the NFL did come out and say today that was wrong, and they have to change it. So we'll see if they actually follow through with it. But it's ridiculous that it even had to come to that.
Right. And the one good thing for the 49ers about this topic is the way they played and the way the defense plays. I haven't seen where there's an issue with them doing this. So if they just play their game, they're going to be okay. But I do know that if it's close, they're going to protect Cam Newton, and they may throw a penalty. But, again, the 49ers, it's not like I saw them, targeting anybody or head-to-head with anybody. They had proper technique, and it wasn't any questionable plays. So they should be all right anyway, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think in this particular week, I'm really not worried about the brand or the type of football the 49ers play. They don't really, like you said, they don't typically do that sort of things. they got really good fundamental tackling. I like, they tackle with their arms. They don't launch themselves, and they don't do any of that. Deshaun Goldson and Dante Whitner aren't there anymore. They were getting penalties all the time for helmet to helmet and all kinds of stuff. They're not there. So we just don't see that out of the safeties or the linebackers. So I'm not really worried about that. But the only thing is they have to be extra careful this week, because you can bet the NFL was under a lot of fire for this. It's been on every network. Tons of articles have been written about this. They know they messed up, and so they're going to be watching it. They're going to be calling it real close this time, so they really have to be careful how they hit Cam Newton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a good week, though. It's going to be a good week, and it's a good test for the 49ers this early in the season, which allows them to see, how real they are. Now, if they fail at this week, it's not going to deter, my thoughts or what I think they can become. They just got to win the games they're supposed to win, compete in the games that, people don't think they can win, and keep improving, and they have an opportunity to win some of those that are then they're supposed to not win. So, which means that there'll be a 10-plus win season and have an opportunity, wild card get in the playoffs and then see what happens.
Totally. What I'd really like to see is, as long as they can just limit Carolina's offense, I would like to see them in the game with 4 or 5 minutes to go. If Carolina's winning like 17-10 or 17-13 late in the fourth quarter, and maybe they win 24-10 or 24-13, but if the Niners are in the game with 4 or 5 minutes left in the game, I'm going to be pretty happy. That's going to tell me a lot about the growth of this team. Yeah,
no doubt. But, it's all going to be led by the protection of the quarterback and the blocking for the running back. That'll be the telltale sign.
No question about it. So, you got any final thoughts about the previous game or the upcoming game?
Just the previous game. Again, I think it was a performance that gives 49er fans hope on what the season could possibly be, and hang in there with them. Because there's going to be times they fall. They don't look like a team that's going to go undefeated, surely not with Seattle and Arizona in. Hopefully they can split those games, and that's 2 games that people thought they were going to lose. So we saw that the 49ers are for real, and that they're going to be competitive in every game. If, no turnovers, they score touchdowns in the red zone, and, they win first downs. I think first downs are very, very key. Puts them in very manageable second and third down, conversion opportunities. So if they do that, it gives people much hope. So on what the season could possibly be. In this next game, it's going to be a second game of the season. It's a heck of a challenge coming off the optimism of the first game, the only shutout of the week, and then now, playing the defending Super Bowl champion, and they don't want to go down 0-2. The Carolina Panthers, I don't want to say they can't afford to, because, hey, they're still a really, really good team. And, in many people's thoughts, the favorite for return to the Super Bowl. But they don't want to go down 0-2. So I promise you, they know they should have won that game. And, you can't say that they weren't the best team out there. But man, they got to. I think it's not a must win, but they've got to win this game. And the 49ers, I think, could, easily lose this game, and the optimism won't go anywhere. It's still gonna, hey, I know I personally am gonna still be optimistic about what the 49ers can accomplish this year. But it wouldn't surprise me if, Carolina, were to win, by 10 points. There's nothing against the 49er defense, but I don't think at this point 49ers can score with Carolina. Even though they scored 21 points this past week, I don't know if they can score. I think now if all the receivers step up, and and then they get, even with the quarterback and the running back, I think they got to have about 175 plus yards, rushing, between quarterbacks and the running backs, and that's a pretty good day, But I think if they average 7-8 yards on offensive play, I think they'll have a good opportunity to be in position, at the end, like you said earlier, be in position in the last 4 minutes, to win that ball game.
Boy, it would really be something. I think you're right. I think they're going to need a good ground attack, and the passing attack has to do some things that Carolina's not expecting. They've got rookie cornerbacks over there. Josh Norman is no longer there. So they've got, their front seven is doing all they can to get pressure to protect those defensive backs. If the Niners can hold off that pass rush and make some plays, especially deep downfield, and maybe get a couple of lucky bounces to go your way, a late turnover, something like that. There's always a team every year that's not supposed to go 0-2 that inexplicably goes 0-2, and you just never know. You just never know what could happen. All it really takes is a couple of bounces early in the season to go your way, and all of a sudden it sets the tone for the season. So we're going to hope for those bounces to go our way this week, and we'll see what happens. But all in all, I'm hoping for a competitive game. And, like you said, though, the sky is not falling if they lose this game. It's just a matter of, I think, we're just all kind of hoping that they're in the game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, you enjoy yourself at the game. You're going to be in the stands, right?
Yes. Be in the stands.
Fantastic.
Have a family with me, and enjoy this 2.5 hours from here. So I'm gonna go over and enjoy some 49er football.
All right. Well, you have a great time, and we'll look forward to picking up the show next week and hearing about your experience out of Carolina.
We're a doomer, man. Hey, enjoy the show, man. Enjoy the 49ers week. And, hey, we've got some optimism, about this ball club going forward. And it's going to be interesting to see how well they continue to build upon that game last week.
Agree. Well, everybody, be sure to go to thegruelingtruth.net, check out all of our other shows, all of our articles, everything going on in the NFL season, also the CFL, boxing, and Major League Baseball. So be sure to check out all the podcasts, all the articles. Also on our Facebook page, you can get our podcast either through our website or anywhere that you can find podcasts: iTunes, iHeart, Stitcher, Spreaker, Google Play. So be sure to check that out, and we'll be back next week for another edition of the 49ers Weekly Show. So for Dexter Carter, I'm Matt Andruscavage. You've been listening to the 49ers Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Radio Network, where the legends speak.